Israel Defense Forces IDF bombed Beirut again. The target of the attack was the suburb of Dahije in south of the Lebanese capital. In Venezuela on Thursday, the political dialogue convened by the National Assembly began with the participation of parties and movements that took part in the July 28th presidential elections. And in Brazil, nearly 19 million people in most of the country forest fire 2024. Hello and welcome to From the South. I'm Alejandra Garcia from TeleSUR Studios in Havana, Cuba. We begin with the news. On Thursday night, Israel Defense Forces bombed Beirut again. The target of the attack was the suburb of Dahije in the south of the Lebanese capital. The new Israeli attack was more far-reaching than the one perpetrated last week, in which the Secretary General of Hezbollah, Hassan Nasrallah, was assassinated. A source close to the resistance group said that Israel carried out 11 consecutive attacks in the area, felt throughout the capital and its surroundings. Meanwhile, Israeli sources reported that the target of their defense forces was Nasrallah's cousin, Hassan Safieddine, who was reportedly elected as the new leader of the movement. However, Hezbollah denied reports of his appointment earlier this week, urging to wait for an official statement on the matter. During the attack, Safieddine was reportedly in a deep bunker. Cuban President Miguel Díaz-Canel reiterated on Thursday his rejection of the crimes committed by the Zionist State of Israel against Lebanon and demanded actions by the international community to stop the aggression. The Cuban head of state said that another Zionist genocide of scorched earth and martyred people is taking place in the Lebanese capital, Beirut, with the use of weapons banned by international accords, as has occurred in Gaza. Díaz-Canel also pointed out that Cuba demands actions from the United Nations organization to put an end to these crimes against humanity. Israel's ongoing bombardment is targeting civilian victims while preventing humanitarian aid from reaching the population under attack. Israeli occupying forces do not cease its attacks against the countries that support the Palestinian people, including Syria and Lebanon, an aggressive escalation that of the acts of resistance claim to face in guided by the example of martyrs who sacrificed their lives in defense of the just Palestinian cause. Let's see.
In the last 2 days, the residential neighborhood of Al-Mazeh in the Syrian capital, Damascus, was the target of 2 Israeli air aggressions, which caused the death and injury of dozens of defenseless civilians, in addition to considerable material damage. These attacks, which the Syrians condemn, are part of the criminal escalation that the Tel Aviv regime is developing with the support of the United States and the complicit silence of the world community against the peoples of the region.
We denounce the inaction of the world community and the indifference of the United Nations that do not condemn the repeated aggressions against our country. Because they adopt a policy of double standards, without caring about the lives of civilians living in these residential areas, including children, because this is not a military zone and there is no reason to attack it, and yet this is the second time they bomb it. From here, we say to the Zionists that no matter how much they attack us and no matter how much they bomb us, we will remain firm, identified with our leadership and supporting their decisions, supporting the resistance and all the fighters of the resistance, and in defiance of the aggressors we say that we will rebuild every place they destroy, because contrary to them, we are people who love life.
Like Syrians, fellow Palestinians living in Syria also condemned the aggressive Israeli escalation against Palestine and its allies, and affirmed to continue the struggle against the Zionist regime until it is expelled from its usurped territories. They expressed their attachment to the legacy of the leader of the Lebanese resistance, Hassan Nasrallah, at a condolence ceremony organized in honor of his memory in the Yarmouk refugee camp, south of Damascus.
Syria is the main pillar of the resistance and the first defender of our cause, because here we were born and grew up, in Al Yarmouk camp, and from here we will continue the struggle until the liberation of Palestine. And from here we honor the memory of Syed Hassan, whose death has been a great loss not only for Hezbollah, but also for us, because he was always a strong defender of our just cause and other Arab struggles.
Syria is the main pillar of the resistance and the first defender of our cause, because here we were born and grew up, in Al Yarmouk camp, and from here we will continue the struggle until the liberation of Palestine. And from here we honor the memory of Syed Hassan, whose death has been a great loss not only for Hezbollah, but also for us, because he was always a strong defender of our just cause and other Arab struggles.
The Iranian embassy in Damascus also hosted a wake for the martyr of the resistance, Hassan Nasrallah, a gesture that, added to the attack carried out by Iran last Tuesday against Israeli military positions in occupied Palestine, demonstrates its unconditional support for the sacred battle that unites the Palestinians, Syrians, Lebanese, Yemenis and Iraqis in the face of the criminal actions of the Zionists.
TeleSUR, Damascus, Syria.
In Palestine, at least 20 people were killed after the latest Israeli army shelling of refugee camps in the city of Tulkarem. In a statement, the Palestinian Ministry of Health informed that the systematic attack of the Tel Aviv regime caused the death of children and women who were living in the area after being displaced from their homes by the Israeli army. So far, authorities are assessing the wounded, and rescue operations are underway to find the whereabouts of more survivors of the bombing. This attack follows the several aggressions and massacres orchestrated by the Zionist troops almost a year after the beginning of the genocidal plan against the Palestinian population, which has also left more than 41,000 dead and some 96,600 wounded. The World Health Organization Director General Tedros Adhanom Ghebreyesus warned that healthcare continues to come under attack, as in Lebanon alone, 28 health workers have been killed in the last 24 hours.
In Lebanon, more than 1,600 people have been killed and more than 1 million displaced, including 350,000 now living in shelters and 160,000 who have crossed the border into the Syrian Arab Republic. Healthcare continues to come under attack. In Lebanon alone, 28 health workers have been killed in the last 24 hours. Many health workers are not reporting to duty as they fled the areas where they work due to bombardments. This is severely limiting the provision of mass trauma management and continuity of health services.
Let's take a short break, but remember you can join us on TikTok at TeleSUR English, where you'll find news in different formats, news updates and more. We'll be right back. Stay with us. Welcome back to From the South. In Venezuela on Thursday, the political dialogue convened by the National Assembly began with the participation of parties and movements that took part in the July 28th presidential elections. The president of the National Assembly, Jorge Rodriguez, heads the work session, which will help to develop the duties set forth in the Constitution of the Republic in regards to the protection of the country's sovereignty. It also aims at modifying the electoral laws to put an end to the practices used by politicians who call for invasion, support illegal sanctions and incite coup d'etats. In this regard, Rodriguez emphasized that politicians cannot promote disruptive actions that put Venezuelans in harm's way.
No se puede.
You cannot participate in the political life of the nation and at the same time promote foreign military actions, or promote homicides, or promote car bombs. It is completely inconceivable. And it is not possible to combine political action with actions that can only be classified as terrorist. but that is what we are living today.
In Haiti, over 700,000 people are now displaced from their homes, more than half of whom are children, due to the increasing gang violence, mainly in the capital. According to the United Nations, the Caribbean country has been plunged into anarchy, with gangs taking over the capital, Port-au-Prince, and the security and health systems collapsing. The International Organization for Migration reported that by early September, the number of internally displaced people since June has increased by 22%, and about 75% of them are now sheltered in the country's provinces. In addition, the agency called for greater international attention on the crisis to restore stability and security across the country and provide humanitarian aid to those affected.
There are all kinds of policies, except a housing policy. It's the biggest problem after everything we've been through here. And the worst thing is that some people refuse to rent out their houses to us. This is hell. This is it. I live it here. Growing up, I used to hear that hell and heaven exist. Well, I'm living hell in Haiti today.
Al-Batisipe member Antigua and Barbuda inaugurates Thursday the Burton-Nepes International Airport, the second in this Caribbean nation. The inauguration is marked with the arrival of the first commercial flight and represents a significant milestone for the Caribbean nation's government, headed by Prime Minister Gaston Brown, and the aviation industry within the Organization of Eastern Caribbean States. The new airport promises to significantly enhance flight traffic between Antigua and its sister island, Barbuda, paving the way for improved connectivity and economic growth, reinforcing the country's vision of one nation, two islands, two gateways. In the United States, the ongoing dock workers' strike could lead to shortages and an increase in the price of several products nationwide. The dock workers of 14 national ports went on strike after the failure of negotiations between the union and the Maritime Alliance. This is the first time something similar has happened in the nation in the last 50 years, after a similar protest in 1977. The crisis, which has reached global dimensions, affects everything from the automobile market to the drug market. If an agreement is not reached soon, the strike could cost the country $5 billion a day and raise the prices of the few products that are still available. In this regard, the strike continues after the United States Maritime Alliance offered a wage increase of about 50%, while the union is demanding a 77% increase. The workers are also demanding an absolute ban on the automation of cranes, gates, and container trucks, claiming that these technologies put their jobs at risk. It should be noted that the closure of the ports threatens to disrupt container traffic, costing billions of dollars to both the U.S. and global economies. We have a second short break coming up, but before we visit our YouTube channel at TeleSUR English, that you'll be able to rewatch our interviews, top stories, special broadcastings, and more. Hit the subscribe button and activate the notification bell to stay up to date on the world's most recent events. Final short break, don't go away. In Brazil, nearly 19 million people in most of the country have been affected by forest fires in the first 9 months of 2024. According to the National Confederation of Municipalities, up to 10,700 families had to abandon their homes due to forest fires so far this year. In addition, the fires have caused losses for $365 million in all the municipalities of the country. The agency pointed out that the people impacted not only include those hit by the fire, but also those affected by the smoke, those who sought medical attention, and those who suffered with the interruption of essential services. On the other hand, the Brazilian Ministry of Environment attributes the increasing fires to climate change and drought in the country. In Thailand, heavy rainfalls have caused flash floods in at least 14 provinces of the country. The Department of Disaster Prevention and Mitigation reported that over 28,800 families in the northern, northeastern and central Thai provinces have been affected by the downpours, while around 193,307 families residing in 5,000 villages suffered structural damages. Furthermore, authorities have confirmed at least 49 deaths and 28 injured since August 16th. In Germany, thousands of demonstrators gathered in Berlin on Thursday to protest against the government's stance on the conflict in Ukraine. This way, the protesters called to halt Germany's delivery of arms to Ukraine while urging the signing of the treaty on the prohibition of nuclear weapons. Under the slogan "Never Again War," citizens held a demonstration on the Day of German Unity, the annual holiday commemorating the reunification of the nation in 1990. Those present also expressed their solidarity with the people of Palestine, with banners calling for an end to Israel's occupation in the territory.
Anyone who remains silent about terrible war crimes in the Gaza Strip, anyone who remains silent about 40,000 deaths, including 20,000 children, don't tell me that you are moral. No, that is hypocrisy. This terrible war, too, must finally be brought to an end.
Ich habe 2 Kinder. Ich möchte nicht, dass die im Krieg aufwachsen.
I have 2 children. I don't want them to grow up in war. And what's happening at the moment between the superpowers, and Russia is a nuclear power, conflict. The USA is a nuclear power, and to keep escalating, that puts us all into hot water. And Europe. I don't want Europe. I don't want Germany to become a nuclear battlefield. And that's why I'm here today, to take this to the streets.
And hundreds of mostly university students protested on the streets of the capital city Accra on Thursday to demand an immediate halt to illegal mining. Demonstrators plan to stage rallies for 3 days and are also demanding the release of 54 activists detained last month for marching with the same demand. The government's handling of illegal mining, particularly its impact on natural resources and rural livelihoods, has become a flashpoint issue in the run-up to the West African country's presidential elections in December. Labor unions said they will begin a nationwide strike October 10th to force authorities to take urgent actions.
Demonstrate and demonstrate and demonstrate and demonstrate. So our leaders realize that the issues we are talking about are critical issues. We will keep demonstrating. Today will not be the end of it. We will protest and protest and protest. On the 10th of October, the organized labor is going on strike. So everybody is coming on board. So we have started earlier. Others will join.
It's like poisoned air. That would be the next worst thing. This is poisoned water. You can't check every tomato you buy. You can't check every onion you buy. It's going to get to everyone, right? And we already don't have a proper healthcare system. Do we really want to play this game? Is this a game you really want to play? Like, this doesn't end well for anyone.
The outstanding Cuban songwriter, performer and music critic Marta Valdez passed away on Thursday in Havana at the age of 90. Valdez had a prolific professional career which includes the composition of boleros, sones, criollas and habaneras. She participated in 1967 in the protest song meeting sponsored by Casa de las Americas and won in 2007 the National Music Award, the country's highest recognition in the field, for her contribution to Cuban culture. Her music was used in national cinema and documentaries, and she also composed for radio, television, and theater. In addition, Valdez wrote chronicles, testimonies, and critical assessments on musical events for national media and authored several books. We have come to the end of this news brief, but you can find this and many of the stories on our website at telesurenglish.net, and join us on social media. We are on Facebook, X, Instagram, Telegram, and TikTok as well. For TeleSUR English, I'm Alejandra Garcia. Thank you for watching.